longtime grieving grandparents, heated exchanges, and an apparent courtroom stunt that stunned even the judge. It was another emotional day in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy, the mother in Massachusetts who says she strangled her 3 children while in the grip of postpartum psychosis. The defense had its first full day of witnesses today, starting with Clancy's former mother-in-law. She said Lindsay was a loving, nurturing mother until a sudden change. She says Lindsay suffered insomnia and anxiety months after giving birth to her 3rd baby. Sue Clancy remembers Lindsay worrying about a dizzying mix of drugs that doctors had prescribed her, and that Lindsay was pleading for help to make her symptoms stop.
She was very nurturing, very loving. She was a wonderful mother.
She was begging for help. Lindsay was struggling. We were all very concerned.
The mother-in-law's testimony was momentarily derailed when the assistant DA popped a question that confounded even the judge.
Are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Counsel, can I see you over here?
In another jaw-dropping moment, a defense expert testified Clancy ran a 5-mile road race the day she gave birth to her 3rd child.
It's unusual to decide to run so soon after delivering a baby.
I'll say. Clancy's lawyers argue the former labor and delivery nurse had undiagnosed bipolar disorder, and they say multiple health professionals missed it or ignored her symptoms, even giving her medication that made the symptoms worse. But prosecutors say Clancy was a methodical killer and that she wasn't taking her medication as prescribed, and that she planned everything down to her family's final dinner the night she killed 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. The last witness of the day, a psychologist who visited Clancy in the hospital following her failed suicide attempt. He described Lindsay Clancy's first phone call following the children's deaths with their father, her now former husband.
She had told Patrick that she loved him very much, and she had said that she heard a male voice ordering her, telling her that she didn't have any choice, but she had to kill her children and then kill herself.
Now that right there, it's a key moment for the defense as they argue Lindsay Clancy was out of her mind. Let's bring in former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani and trial attorney Mercedes Colwin. Great to have you both here. Neama, what impact do you think all this testimony today is having on the jury? Because we have not just her own mother and her own sister, but her former mother-in-law, as well as this psychologist saying she was hearing voices that were telling her, kill your kids and kill yourself.
Elizabeth, obviously the mother-in-law's testimony is very important, that she was begging for help and was addicted to benzos. But I think you nailed it. It wasn't just a key moment. I think it was the key, most important moment in this trial so far. The voices in her head commanding her to kill her children and kill herself. That is textbook insanity, what you learn in law school, that God or the dog is telling you to do something. You don't understand right from wrong. You can't control your own actions. Everything we've talked about so far, the depression, even the psychosis, hasn't risen to that point. But now the jurors have absolutely something to hang their hat on. And this testimony is probably the reason she's either going to be acquitted or we're going to have a hung jury here.
Mercedes, the defense expert witness went to some extent today testifying that Lindsay Clancy was bipolar and never diagnosed until after the murders, and that some medications were making it worse. And they pointed to the fact that she ran a 5-mile race the day she gave birth as evidence that she was manic. You and I have both given birth. I cannot fathom doing that. But they say that's what somebody who is in the throes of a manic episode of bipolar disorder would do.
That was the first reaction I had, Elizabeth, having had children myself, like you. It was something like, how could she possibly done exactly that? Run that 5-mile race.
Or honestly, want to do that.
Exactly. It really is key. And it really will come down to the jurors are grappling with the experts because the experts, this case will rest on the experts. Not sure that Lindsay Clancy will take the stand. This is a game time decision. Not certain if I was a defense attorney, I would actually have her on the stand. But you see her being so emotional over and over and over again during this trial proceeding, so emotional recently that they had to suspend the hearing for a period of time to excuse the jury because she couldn't contain the sobs that was happening to her. So it's something that will come down, exactly as Neama said. The jury's going to really grapple with whether or not she knew what she was doing the day that she killed those kids.
Neama, what do you make? You're a former prosecutor. What did you make of that prosecutor's question to the mother-in-law about, do you know, as a devout practicing Catholic, that murder is a mortal sin? What was she even trying to get at there, and why was the judge so upset?
I think it's an act of frustration because the prosecution knows that they're not doing well in the past couple of days of that. It's an entirely inappropriate question. It has no relevance to a court of law, someone's religious beliefs, much less whether something is unlawful under religious law. I mean, I can't believe the prosecutor asked that question. Again, not relevant, not appropriate. I think what they're seeing is what everyone's seeing is that the case is really falling apart after starting strong. The defense has really scored some significant points in the past couple of days and during cross-examination during the case in chief. And you could tell on social media, so many people are on Lindsay Clancy's side. And of course, it's far from a uniform opinion, but it's going to be very difficult to get these 12 men and women to agree. That's why I think the Commonwealth is in a world of hurt here.
Yeah, Mercedes, Neama brings up a good point. This trial has really ignited a massive conversation and debate online. There are more people following this trial than were following the Luigi Mangione legal proceedings. That's how much it has taken over. A lot of the debate online is about postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. And I've been reading it, and it's really divided along gender. Women who give birth and deal with the hormonal cyclone that goes along with giving birth seem much more inclined to believe that Lindsay Clancy may have been in the grip of this psychosis when she killed her kids, and not guilty by reason of insanity, therefore, not saying not guilty, than men do. Men are giving all these hot takes like, women who have depression are selfish. This jury that is hearing this case is made up of 12 women and 6 men. Is this going to be a problem for the prosecution with twice as many women as men on the jury?
You're spot on, Elizabeth, because even when some women have these types, I'm not saying about the psychosis, postpartum depression even, there are doctors along gender lines that may truly do not understand what their patient is going through. So life experience is going to come into play, how the jurors that are there, who's going to end up in the 12, because we know we have 6 alternates. We don't know who of the 18 will actually be deliberating.
Right.
Sometimes it depends on the trial itself. Sometimes the alternates do deliberate and then they're discharged before the actual decision's made. But frankly, we don't know what the Constitution, I think it's going to, you're spot on about that, might be gender lines. Of course, that will be then lean in favor of the defense.
We shall see.
Especially if women have those experiences.
We shall see. And by the way, it's worth pointing out, if she is found not guilty by reason of insanity, which is a very high bar and happens very rarely, or if there's a hung jury, but if she's found not guilty by reason of insanity, she doesn't go free. She goes to a psychiatric hospital. Andrea Yates, who was convicted of killing her kids, drowning them in a bathtub in the grips of postpartum psychosis, she's still in a psychiatric hospital decades later. This does not mean she'll go free. Just to clear up some of the misinformation I see online, which is par for the course, I guess. Neama Rahmani, Mercedes Colwin, great to have you both. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Mercedes.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.